welcome to the Group F playoff game, where we're going to see CalumSLZ take on Mentol. These two players already met before, of course, where Mentol just about eked out a victory in a very close match. I'm Matt Technical Support Tuck. I am one of your hosts for this early morning game, and I am joined by
Russell Ruffino. And it's good to hear that the early morning isn't sapping the energy levels at
all. Yes, well. So, let's really start then, as we always do, with a quick look at each player's decks. So we're going to start with Calum's decks. Ruffino is echoing. Thanks, Kate.
People often say that about me, actually.
Let's see if you are now.
Does that sound any better? I can still hear myself a tiny bit, but it doesn't seem as bad.
I think Kate indicates that it's better, but not fixed.
Yeah, I think it's better. I feel like it might be fixed now. I can't hear myself at all.
Okay, I'm gonna proceed on the assumption that it is fixed, because I don't know any other ways otherwise. So no, it's like he's on two outputs.
Because I could, when I first spoke, I did hear myself echo, but now I can't. Oh, is it because your other Discord is still open, maybe? But that makes sense.
Maybe?
We've had a few issues already this morning.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. I think it's set properly. Kate hasn't said anything more to say that he's not. But
yeah, she also hasn't said that it's fixed though.
Callum saying to a Twitch practice session. Well, okay, look, if people will schedule games at 9 o'clock in the morning, there's gonna be more errors. I think it's fixed.
We're gonna need someone to tell us if it's fixed or not, because we have no idea.
Well, I am being yelled.
I will move my microphone away a bit. Cool. It sounds better.
Sounds better. Okay.
That might be the best we can do.
Yeah, I think it might be. Okay, we're gonna have to go through these in a bit of a chat pace then. So starting with Callum's deck, the first one we've got is Logan the Dubious, which is a deck that is well, I mean, just looking at it, it's just incredibly fast, right? Like,
yeah, artifact heavy, and all those artifacts basically let you use stuff out of house.
Yeah, and all those artifacts mean that you're not, once they're down, that you're not drawing into them again. So you've got 4 mutagenic serums, 3 dominator baubles, a dab, and a master plan, all of which contribute to just an insane amount of speed.
Yeah, and the Dav is just what you want to see in your first few turns, isn't it?
Yeah, and the flip side of that, of course, is that you can use basically all of your creatures every turn once you've got that full artifact set up. Which means you can just go
33 expected amber, so if it is allowed to do its thing, it will just go too fast for anyone to do anything about it.
Yeah, and indeed has several times already in the KFPL. So let's then look at his second deck, Randolph the Grifter Hammer, which I believe is Randolph's Poison Hammer, which is World Collide's deck. And it's a similar theme, I think, which is that it's a poisonous hammer.
Yeah, it just doesn't look as dangerous at first. I think the expected amber is only 19, but that 24 speed, and when you have stuff like the Ghost Hawks next to the Kirby's, you can just do so much stuff so quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got very light board presence, but it goes so fast it doesn't really matter.
I mean, also the thing about it is it just goes all the way. In every house, you've got things that will let you interact with things with other houses, right? So you've got Kirby, you've got Quant, you've got Ghost Hawk, all of which let you just do some shenanigans where you can play a creature that's from another house and say play Ghost Hawk and Reap with the Kirby, then play an action that's not Untamed or Star Alliance.
Yeah, you could basically just do whatever you want all the time.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of any deck that allows you to use all 3 houses in one turn.
And this is a deck that lets you do it pretty regularly.
As was Logan, actually. Yeah.
That's true. And then the third of Callum's decks, which is Ulslang Spawn of Sulfuru, which is, I think, a little different to the other decks because both the previous decks have a sort of like use all your houses, go incredibly fast. Ulslang is a bit different to that. It still goes incredibly fast.
Yeah, it's still very fast, but it's not quite got the house interaction. Each house is incredibly good on its own, but they don't have loads of ways of working with each other. But it's so disruptive with the Scrambler Storm and the Hysterias and stuff like that, and the Shatter Storm in Mars.
Yeah,
you can't get away with it.
And the other thing to note about this deck, almost sort of like contrasting to most of Callum's decks, is that this is a deck that can deal with the board, and it can deal with the board in a really oppressive way, because not only have you got Game of the Disc, which is the classic board wipe, you've also got double Hysterias, and potentially clutch in certain matchups. You've also got a Guilty Hearts, and Guilty Hearts.
Yeah, this is a bit of a this setup is basically just the anti-Wildcard Saurian setup, isn't it?
Yeah, destroy each creature with amber on it. I mean, that can just be absolutely huge. And of course, even when it's not being absolutely huge, the Hysterias allow you to get around a lot of the anti. I don't know what to describe it as, like the Exalt protection stuff, things like Ludo, things like
stuff like that. Anything that relies on a destroyed effect, basically, Hysteria is putting back in your hand and saying, yeah, it's going to be another 3 turns till you get that destroyed effect now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's look at Mentol's decks now, where I'm going to have to search for them because I'm having some technical difficulties. But we don't have to search very far to find the first of them. Bertrand, Inventeur de la Jungle Ardente, which is apparently Bertrand, Inventor of the Fiery Jungle. And this is one of the nicest AOA decks I have ever seen.
Yeah, talking of decks that like using other houses, those help bots, especially into like the Nature's Call, and then you're going to put some Ronnies down. This is just my kind of AOA deck. It just does so many different things. There's so many ways to muck about with it. That Archimedes can do a lot of work in this deck, and then you've got the Burst in Untamed with a key cheat. It's just all going on in this one.
Yeah, and you've got the Song of Spring to generate the Soldiers to Flowers to generate lots of amber, Song of Spring to shuffle Untamed back into your deck. You've got so many really gross things in this deck.
Yeah, and the Pose Pixies as well is a really underrated bit of protection from capture and stealing. It's people forget about it a lot, and it can be quite hard to remove unless you've got the exact thing you need in your hand. It is only 1 power, so it's not quite as good now that enhancements exist, but it's
still a pain.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to his second deck. The Agent of Ratcot, which is a Worlds Collide deck, and looking at it straight away, you can see that this is leaning into a fairly specific Worlds Collide Saurian archetype, which is that you want to stack all of your amber on one creature and then hit it with 6 Emperor Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, and you've also got just so many things that raise the key cost. So you've got the Edize, you've got the Key Lock, you've got the Retagalim, and then you hit them with the Too Much to Protect.
That's very true.
It is just something you've got to really think about when you're playing against this deck. Your key cost is going to be going up all the time.
But you
What
can't
exactly
afford to
are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
Exactly. And then sometimes playing around something like Too Much to Protect costs you more than actually being hit by it. So do you just try and eat it early on? Do you take the risk that they don't have it in hand right now? But when you get towards the end of the game and you haven't seen it, you just can't really burst.
No. And the other thing to note specifically against Callum's decks is that customs office. And thinking here of the matchup with Logan, where that really hurts if you've got a deck
Yeah,
that
there's
is
9 artifacts in Logan, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And custom office, of course, your opponent must pay you 1 in order to play an artifact, and that is just going to hurt.
Yeah, so if you're on like 5 and they want to play an artifact, they basically are giving you a key to play an artifact, which normally you're not going to want to play that artifact that much. So you're discarding stuff you want, or even if they're on 0 amber, they just straight up can't play them.
Yeah, which can be huge.
Yeah.
Other things about this deck, got a reasonable amount of board clear, it's got a double Axiom of Risk, it's got a Phalanx Strike, it's got bits of spot.
Yeah, the Phalanx Strike, we watched one of the games where it was used to kill the Brand, which was quite nice.
That's very nice. And also, of course, this isn't necessarily a deck where you mind doing the Exalting if you've got the 6 Emperor in hand.
Yeah, exactly. And if they get all the Amber back, you might have too much to protect in hand anyway.
Very true. All in all, I think this is a very nasty Worlds Collide deck. It doesn't quite have the strength of Bertrand. I don't think it's quite as easy to just rush past and win, and it lacks some of the speed, so you could just be clutching for things like the TMTP and them not showing up.
Yeah, and Key Lock as well is another one that if it shows up when you're behind, it's very hard to get good use out of.
Yeah. Still an incredible deck, just not quite, I think, as strong as Bertrand. And then, of course, we've got his third deck. Matriarch de Roche Malin, which is Shan, Matriarch of the Evil Rock. Ironically,
and I think
for a deck that's named after it, it doesn't have Quixelstone in
it. Yeah, this one I think is going to draw. I don't know what the stats are, but I imagine this has drawn a lot of the bans just because of Eaton's Jar.
It has been banned all of the times.
Yeah, I'm
all
not surprised.
6 games this deck has been banned.
Yeah, I would ban it. Eaton's Jar is just too, unless you're playing a deck that for some reason doesn't have multiples or doesn't have a really key card that you rely on. You just can't let someone have Eaton's Jar, especially when it's surrounded by all this other stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously focusing on the Eaton's Jar. There's also an Ultra Graviton, triple Bonithing, a Rad Penny,
Borrow.
a Borrow, double
Yeah,
Infernus.
and the Borrow is another reason why this probably is the ban, because Logan with those mutagenic serums.
Yeah.
Or the Dav, sorry, actually, is the much bigger one. But yeah, if someone borrowing Dav off you in a deck with 7 mutants, then you're losing so much and they're gaining so much that even though it might not happen, I don't think you can risk it.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a very disgusting deck.
Yeah, I expect we'll see this one get banned again, so we probably don't need to talk about it too much because it's not going to get played.
I am somehow in agreement with you. Assuming that that's the ban for Callum, then, what do you think that Mentol bans? Last time round, he banned Allslang because presumably he was worried about that sort of very aggressive anti-Saurian hysteria Guilty Hearts play. I wonder whether that would be the case this time.
Yeah, I think it probably will be, because it's pretty much 100% that Shan gets banned, which means the Worlds Collide deck is getting played, which means that Worlds Collide deck has to face the Guilty Hearts and Hysteria deck. And I think you've just got to avoid that matchup because you're probably losing it.
I think you're probably right. I can't see a world where the bans really shift. I could maybe see an argument for shifting the ban to the Hammer if you were worried about its ability to win games very quickly and just outpace I mean, I doubt it. That, of course, by the way,
I can't
was my
see.
alarm.
Well, that is too late. If you're only just waking up, you have missed it.
Indeed. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're likely to see All Slang as the band once again. Oh, okay. Hearing from Callum that it is in fact just a straight repeat of last time, which means that All Slang and Shan have been banned, as we predicted, as happened last time. Last time, of course, Mentol edged out this game in a close 2-1 victory. We shall see this time whether that holds. Mentol is doing a bit of trash talking, saying that in French they have a saying which means no change in a winning team. Well, let's see if it wins again. We're just waiting for the game to be made. Callum saying, I lost, but Shan can get on out of here, which is entirely accurate. Just wait. Oh, the game is up.
Cool.
Mentol saying that he hoped he could play Shan just one time. I think that hope was never going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just never practiced with that deck and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Importantly, remembering not to follow the link that they put in the Discord chat, because that wants me to join the game. There we go. Watch. Password KFPL.
Don't say it out loud. Now everyone knows.
So we're just waiting for them to start. And there we go. So Callum is playing Logan the Dubious, and Mentol is playing Bertrand. So the million artifacts versus the triple helper bot. This could be a very interesting game.
Yeah, so what artifact control have we got in Bertrand? I don't think we've got... Oh, we've got the strange gizmo. That could be quite interesting, actually. If everything for Callum comes down early and that strange gizmo wipes it, could be quite impactful.
Callum asking if we're good to go on the commentary stream. I'm going to ask for 30 seconds because I'm conscious that the stream doesn't seem to have caught up. And I want to check that that is not a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. The timer has started, so they should probably just go.
Okay, tell them to just go.
Opens with Mutagenic Serum.
Okay, we are in fact going, so we're all good.
Excellent.
Opening the Mutagenic Serum.
Oh, and that's the gizmo. That puts Callum in an interesting position where
that could be big.
So what do you do there? If you draw the Dav now,
I mean,
you just go for it.
You don't play it, right? Because
I think if you draw it near when you're forging, you probably hold it. But yeah, it's a difficult one. You definitely want to play it after that gizmo. Callum's now in a position where he doesn't actually want to draw the Dav until he's forged.
Mentol calling Logos again. Probably we could see some helpful shenanigans. There's 3 of them. Colour research just for the amber.
Yeah, you don't mind too much not using that for the effect. At least you're getting the amber from it.
No, particularly in this deck where there isn't actually a huge number of ways to drive a key cost. Archive.
There's stuff in the archive burning through cards. Oh, there's Post Pixies, which probably won't have a huge effect right now in the game, but could be important later.
So discard Nurse Boss. Can't be disappointed with that.
Pretty
and Nature's Call.
That's interesting.
And hitting with the Vandalize as well.
Probably going to be very pleased with those. Nature's Call is huge in Bertrand because you can just...
Oh, and he hits the
gets rid of
Dutch Witch of the
Those are,
Vandalize.
those are 3 nice cards to get rid of. Gonna be happy about that.
Oh, maybe not happy about that Bob-Omb play, though. I mean, obviously you're always happy to see the Dominator Baubles in Logan, but...
I think getting it out before you call this is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Shadows.
Takes his archive. Got to think maybe a Ronnie.
Ooh, those sucker punches are going to get a lot of value in this game until the DAF comes out, I think.
Yep. Goodbye, Sotolotto.
Ooh, double Ronnie.
Double Ronnie.
Goes
that
into check.
you are worried about. From the chat, Mindfire, not hitting what you really want to see there. But an Infernus. Gotta
Getting rid of Nature's Call.
No, Nature's Call's getting purged.
Yeah, and the lab work, that makes sense. And another one. You just... yeah. Dusk Witch and Anger. Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, it doesn't reduce his...
I'd have been tempted by the Nerve Blast, I think.
Plays Gleeful Mayhem off the Bob-Omb. That's
okay,
not
so that
terrible.
Probably wouldn't have been... So the Helper Bot is going, one of the Ronnies. Gets rid of Pose, which isn't bad.
And one of the Infernuses. I can see the logic there. Once it's been played, a lot of Infernus's utility is done.
That actually went pretty well, I think.
Yeah, both on 4 amber.
For an unintended Gleeful Mayhem play, I think that's about as good as you can hope for.
Yeah, particularly given that the Archimedes has just been played.
Yeah, clearing stuff just before Archimedes comes down is also something you want to happen.
Not a huge turn from Mentol there.
No, I think Calum's doing a good job of disrupting hands.
It's a mug, second mug. Finishing blow
nice
to steal one. Reach for Sutlola, puts himself on 9.
And this now looks like it's going very well for Calum.
We've already seen 2 Ronnies as well. And of course, Strange Gizmo is after Mentol forges a key. It's not after Calum forges one.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you got to assume an archived card is going to be... Oh, yeah,
we knew the Sucker Punch was coming back.
Well, we knew eventually.
Yeah, well...
We missed it initially.
It wasn't necessarily this turn, but it was coming back.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, Ronnie
that is a big turn for Mentol. Doesn't stop the forge, but gets us a nice amount of amber. And is almost certainly going to hit the Strange Gizmo next turn. So Calum can't have too big a turn here because everything that comes down is going to die. And yeah, it's just going to reap with the disc stuff that's already on board.
Yeah. Plays Dance of Doom to clear the...
Yeah. So just stalled for a turn while everything died. And it's pretty even. We've basically reset the game. 1 key 4 amber and 1 key 3 amber. Oh, now we're seeing some bursts now with the full moon.
Oh, full moon undone. Marmo Swarm as well.
And, and the Chota. That is huge.
That's really what you not want to see. You don't want to see that as Calum.
So Mentol's gone straight to key 2. That Strange Gizmo probably facilitated that in a lot of ways just by pressuring.
Calum though bursting straight up to 6.
Mutagenic Serum. And now Calum is in check for key 2. These are 2 fast decks, both going fast. But nothing on the board.
Well, just 3 artifacts.
Oh yeah, but you know, the rest of it's pretty empty. So what do we think is going to happen here? Just had a big Untamed turn. Going back into Untamed. Soldiers to Flowers would be devastating here, I think.
Song of Spring.
Discards the Marmo Swarm, so it's probably happening. Oh, and there you go. What is Calum going to be able to do about that?
I mean...
That is lightning fast. That is just into check every turn.
I mean, looking at Logan, there's not a lot of amber control beyond the Infernuses. There's some capture pips floating around from the mugs, but that's really... Yep, and there's the concession.
It's all over.
That was a lightning fast game.
Yeah, that... I don't think we needed to worry about that 30 seconds at the start then.
No, somehow. I did wonder that given these two decks can't compete with the full key from just one card. That's very fair. That was
basically worst case scenario, but I suppose it was also there's only 6 cards left in draw. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, purging all that.
Since it's the play we've seen a couple of times from this deck, right, where you essentially Soldier Flowers and then wait Choa.
Yeah.
Saying you don't see that combo in competitive play, kind of ironic when this is the Keyforge Premier League.
I think sometimes as well, it's because it's double-sided. Sometimes it can be quite
Soldier Flowers
risky. Yeah. I think sometimes it's just unless you've also can forge a key with it that turn. If you take it to a big tournament, you sit down across from Untamed decks all day, you're gonna struggle to get as much value from it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Right.
But there is, of course, some truth in that, which if that matchup had been up against the Hammer, you would potentially also have been giving Callum quite a lot of amber.
Yeah. Okay, game 2. I believe Callum normally switches decks after a loss.
I believe he does. Incorrect password.
God, that game ended so fast.
Yeah, I know. Like,
that went from both getting key 1 to key 3 happening so quickly.
Just incredibly quick. I mean, yeah, so we can see there that Callum is not playing his deck. He is playing the Hammer. I think that's probably the right choice. You've got to hope that the Hammer just outrushes the Agent of Ratcot and just gets to key 3, as it sometimes does, in like 5 or 6 turns.
Yes, that's essentially Hammer's game plan every game, isn't it? And it can go probably quite well against Ratcot, which isn't the most efficient deck and does rely on drawing the right cards at the right time, I would say.
Well, it's also worth noting that last time this game happened, the Hammer did edge it because of that exact same thing. Cam goes to the...
So the worst case scenario, I would say, would be the key lock coming out early.
Callum has gone for a mulligan. Mentol seems to be thinking it over, but does not. Start the game. Goes Logos, drops a Sanitation Engineer. One of the few pieces of efficiency that there actually is.
Yeah.
Callum going for the Igor.
Talking of efficiency, here's Igor on court.
Yeah, that's... we're saying about the Hammer that is its track and trade.
Discarded a Ghost Talk with Igor and an Anger. That's interesting. The Ghost Talk is a pretty good card, but I guess not that reliable early on when you don't have your big board yet.
Something much more important.
Yeah. If you're discarding a Ghost Talk, I think you're holding on to something pretty good.
Could be a Kirby, could be a Nature's Call. There are any number of things in this deck that you want to hold on to. A Mentol just taking a very small turn there, son.
It's interesting.
Come off as Kirby, as we said. Might be Kirby's Blaster to draw 2 cards.
This is what the Hammer wants to do, just start getting through the deck. I'm interested in Mentol's turn. I'd love to be able to see the hand.
Yeah, I really would here, because obviously it's a really small turn, but you've got to wonder maybe he's setting up for something.
Callum was on no amber, so maybe that played into it, but
he's now on 2, and also that Titan Guardian can no longer do its thing. Oh, and there's the stealth mode. We didn't actually talk about this.
If Mentol was holding some actions
and a Nature's Call, I've got to assume he's picking up. Chooses not to pick up the Kirby, presumably because of the Blaster.
Just didn't want to lose the Blaster, yeah. And maybe didn't have any other good actions in hand as well.
Cool. Shadows, drops the Ronnie, drops a Brand. Got to assume he's got a way of killing that Brand. And you got to think if you're Callum that you're now a bit sad that you played the Nature's Call just then.
Yeah.
And the Hugger
Yeah.
Mugger. What do you do if you're Callum here? Drops another Igor. Having returned to hand last turn. Let's see what he goes for.
Discards the Spears and the
that's
Mamook, probably to pull the other Igor, maybe.
Maybe. Spears is an interesting choice. It's a big card. Gets rid of
There's a lot of good cards
Research.
going down. Wild Spirit and Crash Muldoon now discarded.
Plays Cutthroat Research.
Possibly just prioritizing grabbing Logos cards and getting as much out on the board as possible.
Uses Kirby to draw one card because of the Academy training, and also then to play a second card. Dealing 2 damage to Ronnie. Oh, that Academy training.
Value off one Kirby.
Academy training on Kirby, man. That is Quicksand to destroy the Wormhole Technician and drops the Group Think Tank. This is a huge turn for Callum here.
Yeah, that was massive. Wormhole Technician's interesting. I suppose still hoping to maybe return the Igors to hand at some point.
Going Saurian, gotta wonder, are we going to see the big thing that this deck does? Drops Odoak. Are we going to see a Tribute? It's early days. He'd be very lucky to see the Tribute here. Drops a Phalanx Strike.
Gonna kill the Brand with that, presumably.
No, goes for the Kirby. Exalts the Brand. Because if he then kills the Brand, that'll put him on 5 and Callum on 4. Oops, misclick.
Yeah, he didn't mean to exalt the Brand. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I worry. I think, to be honest, if I were Callum here, I might say you should roll with it. It's an important game.
I think it's an easy enough mistake to make. Because the Brand is the obvious target. I don't think it's a case of clicking and then changing your mind.
Callum is being very generous there and saying, yes, you can...
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I don't think that's a mistake you'd make in real life.
No, I think you're probably right, because you've got to place the Amber on the card in real life, right? Like
It's too easy to get excited and just click quickly.
What's he going to exalt instead? Gotta assume it's probably the Paraguardian? No, maybe
because
the
of Tribute, I'd go for the Pterodactyl just because eventually you might end up stacking.
And we were correct. And then the Brand will die, and he steals 3. That's a nice turn. Reverses what was a huge bit of burst from Callum. Turn 4, I'm going to Logos again. Reaps with the Group Think Tank. Interesting. Just reaping for 6 here. Drops a Babbling Bibliophile. Not a card I ever expect to live.
I wonder what he's holding. I wonder if he's...
I've got to wonder, maybe
he's holding on to an unnatural selection. He's waiting for the board to build a bit.
It's possible. It's possible. We've got to see what Mentol responds with here. Callum again getting to check very quickly.
He might have a Ghost Talk in hand and he's hoping to sneak a Reap with that Bibliophile, maybe.
It's always ever a sneak when you get a Reap with a Babbling Bibliophile.
Yeah, it's never something you're allowed to do, is it?
No.
So I think if Mentol had the Tribute, this would be an easier decision. So we've got to assume that's not happening.
Yeah. Drops the red Gallim. Hoping to drive up.
That's what this deck does. Just always knocking you off
and he reaps with the Paraguardian to ward them as well. Odoak fights Babbling.
Yeah, Babbling goes.
As we said, you're never getting a Reap off that Babbling. What does Callum do here? Because if you go to 9, you're opening yourself up to TMTP. He fights.
Just going to remove the Gallim.
Yeah, use the Group Think Tank to deal 4 damage. That's the turn, though.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You've got to stop the key cost increases happening because
that's Mental Forge, though.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not a good time, but I think it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine you'd waste the TFTP at 7 Amber, but maybe you do.
You're ahead. I mean, maybe just go for it.
Gets you 2 Amber, right? Because there's an Amber on the card. You steal an Amber.
Yeah, it's not a terrible move. It's not what you were hoping for, but if you don't have the E-Dies or the key lock in hand...
Ooh,
interesting. Oh, there we go. That is very nice.
That
uses the
very
Kymore.
Nice. to
That
shuffle
is
all
a
that amber.
devastating turn. It's very reminiscent of the first game where suddenly Mentol just sprinted away.
Cam goes Star Alliance, drops the Kirby, no Soto. Probably the least good Star Alliance set. This must have been with Calum's holding on. Reveals Key Charge. Ooh.
That has got to hurt.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. What the hell is that last card in his hand then that he didn't reveal it over Key Charge? Mentol now, got to be thinking, if I can get Key 2, I've probably got this.
Yeah, you think so.
Drops
Key 2 before Calum gets Key 1.
Oh, and there's the E-Die. And as we've said, right, that's the problem with the hammer, it's not much amber control.
Yeah, once you're behind, you sort of stay behind.
And there are ways to get around that, right? You can cheat out Key 2 or 3 with and I suspect we're going to see the Key Charge.
So he's going to Key Charge. He's going to Kirby into Key Charge, I imagine.
Well, he's gone Untamed.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Drops the Unprinted Remote, drops a Fog Bank, then the Key Charge.
I
mean, it's a nice turn, but maybe
I think he
it's
would have been hoping for that selection to take out a lot more of the other side.
Mentol thinking a little bit about his turn here.
Yeah, he's in an interesting position where he's got one of each house down.
And he's also
probably just wants to get to 6 as soon as possible.
I think you're right, because also there's no point doing shenanigans with 6 Emper here because there's nothing to capture.
Yeah.
Like, you could maybe get a little bit on the other whack, but it's really not worth it.
Yeah, and really that's the problem for Calum. I mean, that's also a problem, but we haven't seen Tribute or 6 Emper, and there are now only 12 cards left in Mentol's draw pile, and Calum is trying to catch up.
And now there's the Golden Spiral down as well.
Yeah, I just think this is going to end with a Tribute 6 Emper play that is just going to devastate Calum's attempts to catch up.
It's possible. I mean, 12 cards in deck, still got reasonable odds, 1 in 3 odds that is not there. Oh, and he got the 2 cards off the Titan Guardian as well.
Yeah, it was a very nice play. A lot of very, very powerful turns from Mentol.
So we're going to see Logos, Conic Finger Trap, some Bowl, gets an Amber off the Odoak Sensation Engineer.
Not what you need. It's not a terrible turn, but just not what you need right now, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Mentol doesn't get the Tribute 6 Emper, it's possible there's a way out for Calum, but it's not looking great. Oh, and the Hawk to destroy his 1 artifact. That just felt mean. It goes Logos.
Yeah, I guess at least from Calum's point of view, at least Mentol didn't go through too many cards there.
Yeah. Just because like the Archons. God, I wonder what is Calum. Was he just searching to try and flip the deck? Maybe find a Key Charge? Kind of a.
I think it's just that the deck is not in its desired position of having a big board and being able to do loads of stuff. So you're suddenly seeing what this deck sort of looks like when the board is getting wiped constantly and you're trying to catch up. Weird
choice to exalt the Paraguardian there, but he's just reaping for 5.
You've got to think 6 Emper's on its way, right?
Yeah. Plays Axiom Krisk again. And there's the 6 Emperor.
That's presumably that is game over.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a really nice play. And he also warded the Paraguardian off the Axiom.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to lose the Paraguardian to the 6 Emperor. Yeah, I imagine Calum's just quickly checking, but it's a lot of ground to make up, even if he can stop the Forge now.
disconnecting, having some TCO node issues. The Dark Tidings update has brought some difficulties.
Two absolutely brutal games for Mentol. Just got to key one and just exploded away in both games.
Just having some technical issues here.
Why is he question marking?
He's still here.
It's your turn.
Mentol saying it's your turn. Mentol's just.
Okay.
It does appear that it has crashed. This is an interesting question here because Calum conceded.
Yeah, I think I know what you're about to say, but I don't think you restart the game from this point. I think it's pretty clear.
Calum concedes. Mentol has won the game. Yeah, I mean, I think. I mean, let's just look at Calum's deck list. There's a cutthroat research, but that's not enough. It crashed. Calum's saying it crashed, but presumably the but is you have won this game. Yeah, Calum concedes again. Okay, looks like that is all over and done with. Well, that was
incredibly fast.
Incredibly fast. We knew it was going to be incredibly fast, right? Like, we looked at these decks beforehand and were like, this is an incredibly fast game. Mentol now, Calum and Mentol just discussing whether that in fact was a game. Calum saying he couldn't because he's got a Frayne and a Mamook, which does not do it.
Yeah, you take one away, but not two.
Well,
and that was very much a game where I think Hammer was just restricted so much, couldn't ever do what the Hammer wants to do.
Calum saying this deck doesn't really do Amber Control. That's perhaps unkind. It has some Amber Control. It's just not a lot. I think there's some discussion earlier about whether we might want to do a quick interview with Mentol, given that he is the second person to go through from the group and also hasn't been interviewed very much.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
He has forewarned us that his English is not great, which is very reasonable given that it's not his first language.
Yeah, it's almost certainly better than any second language I have, which is 0.
Yes, I think he's Belgian, so there's like a tiny chance that he might speak Dutch, but my Dutch is also not very good. It's just moderately better than my French, which is completely non-existent. Calum is now. I'm just gonna close that. Let's go be interviewed. Okay, let's have a chat. We will need to rejoin. I'll start a group call in the group chat.
Hello.
Hello. Just waiting on Mentol to join us. I've just realised, of course, that we've rung Z, who is in America, and therefore presumably
I assume he's asleep.
I must assume that he is asleep.
Well, I can stop it ringing him like that.
2 secs, I come.
He's going. Well, that went broadly as I expected it to.
Well, let's wait for Mentol to join us before we get into the down and dirty of various things.
Thanks for getting up in the morning.
I was saying, so it's my usual time.
Yeah, I am normally awake by now. I'm just normally not trying to do something.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, well, congrats first of all, Mentol, for winning that and making the top 16 and season 3.
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
This was your first time in the KFPL, right?
Yeah, I not make the previous season.
So, I mean, how have you found? Obviously, you've now played 7 games. You've made your way out of the group with only 1 loss. How have you found it?
Oh yeah, last week I was disappointed completely. Like, but it's the game. Like shreds do well, and we have that was like the final last week, and I defeat, and that was the game.
That was a bit unfortunate, but you still made it. Having I think a pretty good couple of games here. So a sort of question for the two of you: how have you been sort of throughout all of the KFPL been approaching your ban choices? What sort of things have you been thinking about?
Well, like we've been testing a bunch of the matchups on the UK Keyforge Discord, but this week was one of the weeks where one deck really stood out was the obvious ban. Like I can't play Logan against a deck that has Eaton's Jar when I have 4 of one card, and a Borrow when I have 9 artifacts.
One of which is Dav, and that deck has 7 mutants.
Yeah, and that's before you get to all the rest of the stuff in the deck that's also very good.
Yeah.
So usually there's been some standout one that I ban because it causes massive problems. The problem this week was the other 2 also caused huge problems that were very foreseeable.
How have you been approaching the bans in general?
For me, same. I try to practice every matchup. I also had a little tips like you can. I also, for example, I check the Crucible tracker account of Calum, and I approximately see which deck he has banned because he not practice it, and so I can I can move with that.
Interesting.
I thought about trying to hide it in some way, but it was like this is a very foreseeable ban.
Yeah, I think the ban's so obvious. I don't think
Yeah.
you would ever ban a different deck of those 3.
Yeah. Oh, at every match, channel was banned. So
I gave it some thought just because Bertrand, I think, is like one of the if not, it's certainly up there for like the best AOA deck that exists.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very
like
nice.
So insanely consistently good.
oh, thanks.
I'm very jealous of it. It's very fun.
So sort of coming on from the ban side of things, how did you, so now that we're out of the group stages and we're going on to the top 16 from next week, how did you choose your decks? It's a big open question for Triad, of course.
From my side, Bertrand is mine. That's one of my decks, so I was sure to play it. And like we say, it's super consistent and super nice to play. And after the 2 others, like Shine is from one of my teammates, and same, he like 80% win rate on the tracker. So okay, definitely I have to take it. And Radcott, the others, my Words Collide, the other source was difficult. Like he's good, but take a Kota or take a Words Collide, that was a difficult one.
Calum, how about you?
Radcott. I basically the hammer is mine, and it's the one that I qualified with, and I love it daily. So I was gonna play that one, and I was just casting around for like strong decks that I thought would be a lot of fun, and then I ended up borrowing 2 of friend of the stream, the Dear Muffins' decks, because they, as you said in the deck chat, do like fast nonsense. Which is generally what I enjoy playing.
Yeah, were you trying to get 3 decks that did similar things, so they were hard, so it sort of didn't matter what got banned that much?
Yeah, a little bit. So like they were all like very rushy. They're all capable of generating a lot of Ember very quickly. All flying, I was like, having all of these board wipes in the deck is going to be very useful because the other 2 have some board control, but it's not their strongest aspect.
I think
where it's like, yeah, a bunch of people playing Worlds Collide Saurians.
The interesting thing for me there from the 2 of you is that both of you picked, and from what I can tell, the deck that you've had the best luck with and like playing the most is obviously the deck that you own. So Bertrand for you, Mentol,
Yeah.
and the hammer for you, Callum, which seems to be, I guess, as just sort of open question, would you say that you are better playing the deck that you own of the three that you had versus the other two?
Oh yeah, clearly. Especially because the third one I have never played. It was banned every time. But yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
And I-
practice much with Shan, or did you know it was going to get banned?
No, I practice, but I think just one match every week. So that's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm not sure it's so much better with the hammer in that it involves less thinking to be as good. So, like, I can perform that at the required level with much less effort.
And
than,
would
like,
you
what
say
you-
that's because of the deck or because of how often you've played it?
Like 70-30. The deck in of itself, it does play itself a lot once you work out like what to do with it. But then there is that like, okay, I can do 8 different things.
Yeah, I feel like it's got like good sort of priority lists. Like when you play the Ghost Talk, you're like, okay, my ideal target is A,
Yeah.
second is B, then C, and then it's just anything that reaps.
And then like you play an Igor and you're like, right, which of these things do I want?
That's a good point. So then, turning briefly to the games, both of which were, to be blunt, incredibly quick. We started at 9, and it's now, I think we were finished by 9:25. Obviously 10 and 10:25 where you are.
Yeah.
I'm getting the feeling, Mental, that particularly the first game, it went almost exactly to your sort of ideal plan.
Yeah, that was. I think I was lucky. I was there was a good draw, but also when it comes the 2 subtle auto and the manfire in like 2
Yeah.
turns, it just crushed the nature core. But after that was just a dead card. So and I was Shota and full moon in hand. So I was super.
Oh.
Yeah, when I had those pretty early, I was like, okay, this could pretty much be it. If I can hit good things here, I'm maybe in with a shout. And then it was like I hit some untamed creatures or like a thing. And I played the Vandalize as well, and I was like, these are just none of these are any of the things I wanted to see here.
Yeah, I thought that had the potential to be big when I was like, oh, 2 Subtle Autos Vandalize. I think you were tad unlucky not to hit anything huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the strange gizmo come really early as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really bad news for you in that matchup, that gizmo.
Yeah, so there was a turn when I just reaped with 2 disc creatures and played a Dance of Doom because I had a hand that was like 3 mutagenic serums.
Yeah, and it was a pointless Dance of Doom because the things you killed were dying anyway.
Yeah, so I was like, I maybe could have just played out the serums anyway for Ember, but that's like, I think if I'm going to bring this back, I need the like stupid nonsense.
I think what you did was fine because those serums are so important to that deck. And it's like all of them at once. Maybe if you just had one of them, you'd have just let it go. But all 3, like,
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
And then the second game, I think it was an interesting one because we were talking in the deck chat about how Ratcot isn't really the fastest deck ever. And it needs to sort of hit things at the right time. And although you didn't get the sort of Beedies and Keylock, I think from what we saw, you did a really good job, Mental, of just completely controlling the Hammer's board, which I think is the way that it wins games.
Yeah. At the start, because we have already played that matchups the match before, and I think the Hammer completely destroyed Radcot. So I was to go okay in front in terms of Ember, and I have to stay there. And with the brand at the start, I think that's the main point.
Yeah, I think that turned the game. And I think you did a good job of like forcing Callum to fight into stuff when Callum would have rather been maybe picking a house that wasn't on the board or reaping and just trying to burst.
Yeah, I was trying to set up some sort of key charge turn because they had it in hand. They had like a Kirby and a natural selection and a key charge, and I just couldn't quite make that hit at any point. And I was like, well, I'll keep going to 6, keep going to 7. And I was like, well, I'm okay here because you can TMTP me, but that's not that bad. And then you played the Chimera Eclipse TMTP play. And it's like that bit from The Simpsons. It's like you can see where the guy's heart races.
Yeah, you can tell. I feel like both games had that bit where you could sort of tell the tide had turned a bit too much.
I
it
must.
was a great play. All due
Yeah.
respect, but I was just like,
yeah.
I thought the Chimeral Eclipse TMTP play was beautiful.
It was. I'm not as enthused by it as I should be because it was against me, but it really was great. any other time, I'd be like, that was great.
So, thanks both for joining us for some after game chat. Mentol, of course, you carry on. Next week, you're facing who? Callum, you'll know this. Who is Mentol facing next week?
He's up against Jay Philippak.
From Portugal. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yep, and from United Archons. So we'll be back to stream some games in the Top Cup. That might be one of them. Who knows? I'm not sure it is. I don't make these decisions. I'm just the substitute commentator.
All right.
So
yeah, well played both.
Well played both.
Yep.
Best of luck next round, Mentol.
Thanks.
Congrats to Mentol. Very well deserved. Top 16 place. Absolutely deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to watching,
Great player, yeah.
you, Bertrand, a few more times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope Sean also.
I don't think you need to worry about that.
I wouldn't get your hopes up that much on that one.
Right. Thanks very much for both joining us. I hope you have an excellent day. Bye-bye.
Go. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Good Sunday. Bye.
Bye. We have been Team Screech Bob-Omb. I hope you enjoyed our games. We will see you around. Bye-bye.